Catus Maximus here, this time with a quick review of the Harbor Freight Icon Deep Well external Torx socket set. These are external 6-point star sockets, just like Torx for internal that are used on bicycles and deck screws. This is the 1/4-inch 6-piece and the 3/8-inch 6-piece. Between both sets, you go from E4 through E18. And I'm going to follow up tomorrow with a video of external Torx fasteners explained, because there's actually a big reason for them. They happen to be essentially the strongest fastener and fastener driving system sockets for a particular diameter. That would be versus if you had two external Torx. Now that's what they look like. They're just star type fasteners. What's interesting is many times they have these 6 lines. Even though this is a metric fastener, it's kind of a throwback to fractional bolts where they use lines to indicate high strength or grade 8, as opposed to stamping numbers on them. Like on a socket head cap screw, they'll of course just stamp something like 12.9. This is a machine grade fastener. Pretty much all external Torx are machine grade fasteners, meaning they're high torque. And really the deal is both of these fasteners are 8mm shank fasteners, but of course that socket head cap screw would be driven with this 6mm shank, where this same diameter head and shank external Torx is driven with this big thick socket. So they're just much stronger. The reason they are seen a lot now in automobiles, and actually have been for years, and it's been a little confusing, is because of that. They're a very high strength fastener designed to use a special socket that fits in the same areas as cap screws and doesn't lock up. And that's one of the deals, is that during automated assembly processes, sometimes hex fasteners will actually get stuck in the drivers, causing various issues. And so that's why this external Torx has come about. The Harbor Freight Icons are okay. If I take this larger size one, the real issue here is that they just don't put quite deep enough a chamfer. And I should go back to the E10 here just to show you that the socket doesn't quite sit all the way down, and that's not entirely consistent, because if we take this E18 and then we take the E16 that's next to it, we can see that the E16 has a pretty deep chamfer, which is what you want, because these fasteners have these the way they're forged, they have this big taper at the bottom of the splines just to give it a little bit more reinforcing. So you need a big, actually a abnormally steep and deep taper on external Torx sockets, and that just isn't entirely consistent with these icons. So the whole reason I picked up these icons is I had actually split a Pittsburgh E10 when I went to replace it. They didn't have any on the shelf, and I could have either mailed it in, or the manager actually offered to just give me a 25% discount on the icon, so I went ahead and picked them up. I think they actually will be stronger than the Pittsburghs, but I do have a Pittsburgh and a Titan here, and if we do compare, what are these? These are the E14s. We can see that once again, that like on the Pittsburgh and the Titan, they have nice deep recesses or bevels, but pretty square in the icon. So Harbor Freight really should have fixed that up, even though they seem pretty nice, and they do have pretty beautiful chrome. Once again, it's just pointing out a little bit of inconsistency, but I already had the Pittsburgh, so the icons are an upgrade for me, at least in these drive sizes. And the fact I already have other brands and short wells, I said why not? We'll see how it works out. Now the ones, if you do use these relatively often, it will kind of wear in the socket, but still would have been nice if they had proper bevels in them. A socket with a real proper bevel, such as this short well, would look something like that, where it'd be really steep. Sometimes some manufacturers go a little too far, like this. Don't want them quite that deep, but they do need to have a steep bevel. That way when they go onto the fastener, they see all the way down, so you just get full grip. So anyway, I'll explain more about eTorx fasteners in my next video, but I did want to point out what was going on with these icons, even though they are pretty cheap, and with the discount, and you can still find icon 20% off tool coupons. There are a few just coupon databases of just all the Harbor Freight coupons, so you can dig through there and find them. Usually find a coupon, and that at least is not expired. You're looking around, $30 or something in that range for this. The 1/4-inch and the 3/8 are around, $15 to $16, depending on, if you get a 20% or a 25% off coupon. And that's really if you are working on. Now these show up on things from Ford Thunderbirds to hydraulic systems to a lot of Mercedes, etc. use them. So depending on how much you use them, you may get them from Harbor Freight. But I do a lot of Harbor Freight reviews, so I have an excuse to get them. But really, I would probably order something online, like just a more of a complete set that includes half inch, or at least some other brand that may offer just a little bit more consistency, because the recess, that the inconsistency of the recess in these sockets could potentially, cause you just a little bit of issues. With eTorx, it's so strong, it's such a powerful engagement that really doesn't mean much. But the socket will be a little bit more wobbly on the fastener, because without that big recess, then it just doesn't quite seat all the way down, so your socket's rocking around. Even though the way these fasteners are designed, they can take a lot of awkward force and really strange angles. Still, it just doesn't offer quite the same purchase as a properly chamfered socket. When you get it on there, it really wants to stay straight. So anyway, that was my quick review of these Harbor Freight icons. And my next video, I'll just be actually talking about these little fasteners. I did some homework on them. They're actually pretty amazing. They're really what would be considered the modern version. I mean, you really would have a progression of hex head fasteners to socket head cap screws, and really eTorx or the next evolution. Now that I understand them more, they're actually the external Torx fasteners are a lot better than the internally driven Torx fastener, especially because they're secrets, like being able to, in a pinch, be able to use things like on this one, you can use an 8mm 12-point box wrench, or even 8mm fluted. Surprisingly enough, they do not fit non-fluted, but in a pinch, you can use a 6-point socket on these fasteners. Just wanted to throw that in there. You may, if it's a really tight one, you may split the socket, but it's at least worth a shot because it offers pretty good engagement. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.